Hello everyone, and welcome to the explanation of a new problem. So, in this video, we are going to discuss the question number 3 of Lead Code Contest 246, count sub-islands. So, let's just jump into the example over here. We have been given two grids, right? I have this example pasted over here. So, we have these two grids, grid 1 and grid 2, right? And we need to find the number of sub-islands in grid 2. Now, let's understand first what an island means. So an island is a series of contiguous ones, either vertical or horizontal. You're not allowed to take a diagonal, right? So this over here is an island of ones, and zero actually represents water, right? This is an island, and this is a piece of island, right? Now, had there been a one over here, let me take a black pen. Let's say this was a one and this color was of the sand, I guess, right? Would this one be included in this entire island? Would this island be like this? No. See, because I am actually crossing over a diagonal over here. So this one would have not been included in this island. So like I said, an island is a contiguous sequence of one, either horizontally stacked or vertically stacked, right? So you can go into four directions from one particular one, above, bottom, right, and left. Okay. Now, what is a sub-island? So, sub-islands actually are present in the grid 2. Now, what a sub-island is, it is a contiguous sequence of one in grid 2 such that on their corresponding locations, there is land in grid 1 also. What I mean to say is, let's look at this example over here. This one, this series of one over here. For each of these ones, there is a corresponding one in grid 1. For this one, we have this. This can be crossed off by this. So I'm going to cross them all off like this, right? So this island over here, it actually encompasses, or I should say this island over here encompasses the island in grid 2 at this location. So including this one over here, let me change the color of the pen. So including this one over here, we had an island, and in grid 2 we have a sub island. So I hope you understand this was an island, and inside it there's a sub island, and looks like a egg fry, but basically, yeah, this is an island, and we have some sub island over here. Okay, now let's find out how many other sub islands we have in grid 2. So here's a one over here, but there's no corresponding one at this side. There's water only. So this one, even though it is a standalone single-celled island, it is not a sub-island, right? Let's talk about this island over here. This is an island. So corresponding to this one, we have a one over here, but we don't have any ones corresponding in grade 1 to these two. So even though this is an island, it is not a sub-island. It's not a sub-island, sorry. Then we have two more islands over here, 1 and 2. Corresponding to both these islands, we have one over here. So we can say that these two islands are actually a sub-island of this entire big island, right? So in totality, we have a sub-island over here, we have a sub-island over here, and sorry, we have a sub-island over here, we have a sub-island over here, and one over here. So this gives us three sub-islands. And I hope 3 is the answer over here. Yeah, 3 is the answer over here. So well, a simple approach that you guys might think is that. Okay. So a simple approach that you guys might think. I'm sure you must have heard about this island question. It's a very famous question. So one thing that would have been coming inside your mind is that let me just calculate all the islands that are in grid 1. Then I'll calculate all the islands in the grid 2. And I'll traverse over all the islands in the grid 2 and simultaneously check if corresponding locations, like let's say that this is 0, 0, this is 0, 1. If these corresponding locations that are forming an island in grid 2 actually have the value 1 in grid 1, right? Sure, you could do this. I mean, this would require a long code where you will first find all the items in grid 1, then you'll first find, then you will find, secondly, you'll find all the items in grid 2, then you will perform a comparison with using another loop, right? That can be done. Or let's look at a little efficient way to do this. We'll use, that the previous one was also using some kind of DFS traversal. Even this will use a DFS traversal, but we'll perform that traversal only on grid 2. While we are performing that DFS traversal on grid 2, simultaneously, we'll also traverse over grid 1. So using a single function, using a single recursive function, we will traverse grid 2 and grid 1. So let's say I just entered my grid 1 and I found that at 0, 0, there's a 1, right? So now recursively, I'll traverse to its right, to its left, to its bottom, and above it, right? Now, of course, up at the top and the left are actually going out of bounds. We'll definitely have a base case for that. But using this phenomenon, we will recursively traverse over all these consecutive ones. At below there is a 0, so there's no need for traversal. So basically from this one we are going to traverse right, from this one we are going to traverse right, from this one we are going to traverse at bottom location, from this one right, and again from this one right, and we would have traversed this entire island while we are traversing. So the condition for traversal would be that in grid 2 the location is, the next location that you're going to is 1, and in grid 1 the current location that you are at is also 1. If any of these are 0 or out of bounds, or any of the location over here is a 0, then you're not going to traverse. So I hope the explanation of the problem was clear. I'll repeat in a very short summary form once again. You're going to perform a DFS traversal on grid 2. You're going to find out the islands, and you will traverse on these islands if and only if they're not out of bounds. You don't step on a 0, and the corresponding location in grid 1 is 1, right? If you are able to find such an island, you'll return true, right? And if your DFS function is returning true, you will, let's say that you have a sub island variable, which you initialize with 0. Each and every time you find a sub island in grid 2, which is returning true via your function, you will just do +1 over here. And at the end, you'll have, sorry, +1 will not get drawn. So at the end, you'll have your count of sub islands. I think this explanation was enough, and now you guys would be able to go to the compiler and try out this question. So remember, you need to define your um, you need to define your, why is this pen not working? Okay, so you need to define your base cases, right? You need to define the case where traversal in grid 1 is not giving you the desired result. Uh, uh, I don't know what's the word over here. Not a desired result, not a desired result. And third, you just perform your recursive calls. You need 4 recursive calls over here. Each recursive call actually going in one direction: top, top, right, bottom, and left. So now you guys are free to go to your compilers and try this question and try writing the code for it. If in case you are not able to write the code, come back to this video, because now we are going to begin with the pseudocode part of this video. And while writing the pseudocode, I'll explain each and every line that we are writing. Just get some space. Okay. Yeah. So now we begin with the pseudocode. Let's write out the essential things first. Rows will be equal, begin from little top. Rows will be equal to length of grid 1, and obviously calls will be equal to length of grade one's any element, right? Dot length for C++ and Java users. I guess length, I guess, is used in Python. Okay. Uh, or maybe it's dot size. I'm not 100% sure right now. Then let's maintain visited set, right? Because we won't want to visit the same uh, I comma j element cell, right? We won't want to visit the same cell again. So let's maintain a visited set. So visited, this is a set. Okay, this presents a set. So we need a function. We need a helper function here with us. So I'll write that later. Let's just see what happens when the helper function is working. So let's maintain an answer variable, initialize it with 0. This answer variable is going to store my final sub island count, right? Now for like r equal to 0 till r equal to number of rows, right? Then inside it, I hope you know what I'm doing. For c equal to 0 till c equal to false. So we are traversing at each and every position, and at each and every position, what are we doing? We are going to check things. If grid 2 R and C is equal to true, right? What will true give? True will give us any value other than 1. Any value other than 0. And in this case, it's definitely going to be 1. Meaning if this is a starting point for or middle point or a point at some island, right? And the set R comma C is not present should say is not in visited, right? This means that the value is 1 and we have not visited it before already. This means that we are going to perform DFS, and that condition will again itself come inside this only. So if our DFS is actually returning us true, right? And the value returned by DFS of R comma C is actually equal to true. I don't need to write equal to true. I'm just elaborating a little bit. Right. So three conditions. If RC is not if RC is not already visited, if grid to RC is actually equal to 1, which means there's some island present over there, and the DFS which we perform on that grid 2 returns the value true, which means something that is desired, then that would mean we have this 2 will actually present the sub island findings, right? So if we have actually found it, then it's very simple. We are going to increment our answer. I think I use the variable answer, so simply answer plus plus. And finally, we're going to return this answer. This will come over here, return answer. Right. Now all we need to do is write this DFS function. Just remember that this DFS function is actually traversing between is traversing grid 1 and grid 2 simultaneously. So send the parameters accordingly. Right. I think I should shift. I don't have space, so I'm going to write DFS function below this main thing. Ideally, we stack it above, but I'm going to write it over here. So this is a DFS function. It requires some parameters. I think those parameters would be your grid 1, your grid 2, your dimensions of grid 1, grid 2, and the R and C that we're going to traverse on. So you guys can fill it up over here. If I miss something, I'm sure you'll be able to add it while you are writing the function. So let's discuss the base case. So if we are out of bounds, first thing always when we're doing these kind of questions, we need to check if we are out of bounds. So if R is less than 0, or C is less than 0, or R is equal to rows, or C is equal to calls, right? This is something standard. Now we're going to check. Sorry, this will be or grid 2's R and C actually turns out to be water. So if that's water is actually an undesirable position for while we're searching for island, right? Either island or sub-island. Or the set R and C that we were maintaining is invisible, right? In these conditions, we are going to return from the function, we're not going to continue. So what are we going to return? Will it be true or will it be false? This is something that we need to think about. See, these conditions alone do not define, these conditions, I'll repeat, do not alone define that we have not reached, that this thing that we're traversing on is not a sub-island. See, sub-islands are the collection of some less ones as compared to grid one. So while we are traversing on a sub-island, we might reach zero, but that does not mean it has no corresponding position equal to one in our grid one. So here, let's just return true. Now false would be returned in the condition that I'm now going to show. Just in two more steps, everything will be super clear. So let's just remember one thing, that since this was not in visited, now we're going to add them in visited. So visited dot add r comma c, right? We're adding some, you can add it in array. This is actually a tuple of Python. And let's use a variable. Let's call it resultant. I'm going to keep this true in the beginning, right? If in grid one, see, after you have ruled out this base case, if in grid ones R and C, you actually find water, this is the only time we can 100% for sure say that the island that we are traversing in grid 2 is actually not a sub-island, because corresponding location in grid 1 has zero. It might be a possibility that we reach a water over here. Let me show it to you guys over that example that I have over here. See, here we are reaching water, right? But one was still present over here. So it's not a final conclusion that this is not a sub-island. We actually are actually traversing over this sub-island, right? The only time we can actually say that this is not a sub-island is in a condition like this, when we have one over here and the corresponding location is zero. So where was the writing the DFS code? Yeah, over here, right? So if we do find out that this is actually zero, this is the time when we are sure that our resultant is false. So I'm not going to return from here. I could have written return true. I did not need any resultant. Why? Because I don't want to right away return from here. I need to perform my DFS right now, right? So this resultant will actually be false for right now, which means that we have reached a position where we are sure that this island is not a sub-island. So we are marking the resultant false. So obviously, while we are returning the final answer, we are going to take this false into account. How would we do that? Let's move on to that part a little later. Let's just first call our DFS, right? So like I said, you will be calling DFS four times. One would be R minus 1C, then DFS on R plus 1 comma C. So you are actually traversing over all directions. R comma C minus 1 and DFS. This is pretty basic, right? R comma C plus 1. I don't think I missed anything, right? Now, these values are actually returning something. Either they'll return true at some point when they're going out of bounds, or they'll return, yeah, or they'll return false. I'll show you how it will return false, or we get false, right? So if at any point we are getting false from these answers, this means that this, see, we might get true, we might get false, we might get a collection of trues and false. If and only if every time we get true, we can safely conclude that this is a sub-island and will return true. If at any point, at any one point, we get false from our answer, this means that grade 1's R0 is actually water, RC is actually water, which means this is not a sub-island. So I think you might be understanding what I'm going over here with this, is that resultant is equal to DFS, the answer returned from it, and we're going to AND it with resultant. So trues and trues will actually be true. So our resultant at every point will become true. If at any point resultant was false and we are ending with it, the final answer would also become false, right? So this is how you are going to write a code. Now I'm not going to write it over again and again. So I'm just going to use these arrows. So the same step you're going to repeat over here. And finally, what are we going to return? We're going to return resultant. Now, some of you clever coders out there could definitely simply write all these 5 lines into one single line. And I'm sure you guys know what that is. It's basically return resultant and all these recursions, right? You write all those 4 recursions over here, and this will also give you a right answer. So I just expanded it over here to over explain it to you guys, but you could have squeezed all these 5 lines into this one single line. So I hope the code was clear to you guys. I hope the explanation was clear. I hope that you didn't jump to the pseudocode in the video and actually went onto a compiler and tried this out. So this is an excellent question. It's a very good example. It's a derivation, sorry, it's a variation of a very famous question, number of islands in a matrix. And that's a very important question for an interviews. So I hope this explanation made it clear. And if you guys need to revise, I would strongly advise you should go and revise that question of islands. That's a very important question for an interviews. Thank you.